Hi, everyone. Kayla Lopez here with Military Friendly. Super excited that you're joining us today. We have got awesome panelists with a ton of accomplishments and I'm really excited to share with you. Just to give you some background, Military Friendly itself has conducted the Veteran of the Year and Veteranpreneur of the Year program for several years. This year was the first year that we decided to take that campaign and go national. So super, super exciting. We were able to get over 600 nominations, narrow those down through public voting and peer support to one state winner in each category. So one Veteran of the Year and one Veteranpreneur of the Year in every single state. These are some phenomenal individuals, even all of the nominations we got, right? It was really hard to filter through that, but we let the public and peer support determine who those winners were. From that stage, they then advanced on to national finalists. During the national finalist process, it was also peer support and public voting, along with an internal panel and some interviews that were conducted with the committee. So really, really, really excited. Today we've got with us our national winner for Veteran of the Year. So I'd like to welcome our 2025 Veteran of the Year, Melissa Fulmore-Hardwick.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
Melissa. Tell us about yourself.
Well, Melissa Fulmore-Hardwick, naturally. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, so I hail from Florida. I am originally from South Florida, a little town called Deerfield Beach in between Boca Raton and Fort Lauderdale. Grew up in very humble beginnings. I am the youngest of 12 kids, all same mom and dad. I have to say that because clearly television probably wasn't a thing for them back then. But we were raised with a very rich faith. My parents were not necessarily highly educated, but sent all 12 of us to school. And so being the youngest, things are a little bit different from me. My mom died when I was 3 years old, and my dad never wavered. Just every time I think of that, I'm like, how did we make it? He was an amazing man. And it was our faith that carried us through. So went on to college, had some missteps in college because the freedom was just too much for me to handle, and found myself returning home because I had basically flunked out of college. And so failure wasn't an option for me. Came home that summer. All I could think about was being home with my dad, who was extremely strict, and I'd had a taste of freedom. But fortunately for me, Kayla, I met an Army recruiter at a gas station one day, and struck up a conversation. I was totally honest with him about where I was. He started questioning me, as they probably do every young person they come in contact with. But our conversation ended in a very positive way. He mentioned to me that the military could pay for me to finish college. It sounded very appealing considering I didn't have a plan. And so I joined the military, and it literally changed the trajectory of my life. Today, I stand with a bachelor's in accounting and executive MBA, and I serve as a CIO, and right now a global executive, really trying to help people, veterans in particular, actually is one of our communities, to find employment. And so I'm excited about life. I'm married of 20 years to my husband, Gerald, and I have a 13-year-old son, Jackson. So that's who I am.
You've got your hands full, right? Mine's 15, so I know what 13 was like.
Oh, you know the teenage years.
So you've got a fantastic story. A lot of times when we have conversations with these interviews, it's funny that people meet their recruiter in the strangest place, right? Or it was unexpected. What about that interaction sparked your interest in joining that journey of service?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I didn't really have a plan. Having to come back home was extremely embarrassing for me. I was a very bright student, so there was no reason that I should not have excelled. In my first couple of years of college, I didn't have a plan. And so what was appealing to me was when I mentioned what my interests were and what I was going to school for, he quickly said, well, the military could pay for you to finish. You can work as an accountant in the accounting office in the military. And it's so interesting, Kayla, because I recall going home telling this to my dad, and he literally laughed in my face. He was like, "You will never make it out of basic training. Like, don't waste their time." Excuse me.
Challenge accepted, right?
So I accepted the challenge, which again, my family thought it was just the most hilarious thing in the world because I've always been a girly girl. And so the thought of PT, my dad was military. I had two brothers that were prior service. And so they just thought it was the funniest thing ever. I was the cheerleader and the bubbly personality, and they just could not imagine seeing me in boots. But it was my, at the time, it felt like it was a detour. And I say this often, but it was really the thing that changed my life. And it became strategic for me. And it's a great story. I love to share it.
Absolutely. Looking back at your time on service, what was one of those times that just you'll remember forever? Because one of those pivotal moments in time in service.
Good, bad, or indifferent? So one of the things that I recall that were moments that I'll never forget. I remember my first PT. My initial duty station was in Colorado Springs, Fort Carson, Colorado. And I remember showing up at Fort Carson, and I was just so gung-ho, right? I was super excited about all the things. I had mastered the PT, you know, for my age. I was a little bit older when I went into the military. So I had mastered PT and was just doing all the things. And I remember getting to Fort Carson, and it was my first PT test. And I had a chip on my shoulder, right? I had something to prove. And so I started running, and I remember our commander saying, "Take it easy in your first PT test because the altitude is really high and like you just got to be careful." And I'm like, "No, I'm that girl." I take off in PT, right? Trying to get the best time. And Kayla, I fell out. I was so embarrassed, but the altitude had gotten to me and I'd started off so strong. And so I had become the new girl in finance who fell out in the middle of the street doing PT, right? And so I love that because number one, people knew who I was on the base. That was one thing. But then I had nowhere to go but up from there. And so it was such a good moment. I have friends that are still my friends from Colorado Springs, Fort Carson, and we still laugh about it today. It was quite the memory. So yeah, one of my best stories. One of my best stories.
When you're in the military, the biggest strength is the leadership, right, and the training that you get, and being able to become a good leader yourself. And so, throughout your journey when you were in, what is one of those moments that you took away from a leader that stuck with you?
So, as it relates to leadership, I think it was in basic training where I realized that I really was a leader. Again, I was a little bit older. Most of the girls were right out of high school. I had done a couple of years of college. But I recall being selected to be a little platoon sergeant of our group. And I don't know if the drill sergeants just, their posture make you want to be a leader because they're yelling. And so now you want somebody to yell at because they're yelling at you. But I took my role as platoon sergeant very seriously, right? I wanted us to march the best and line up the best and our uniforms be the best. And people listened, right? Not because I was yelling, but because I demonstrated that. I made sure when I came out of the barracks that I was, you know, my hair was pulled back properly. My boots were spit shined. And so it was interesting to learn that people will actually listen to you if you're a great example for a leader. And not only that, that if you felt like you were still one of them, yes, I'm a leader, but I share in doing the same things that is required of you guys to do. And so that meant something to me, and it sparked something in me that you have this entire group of 75 women and you are marching, calling cadence, they're repeating you. You say, "Hey guys, let's go so we can be the best. Let's get our times up." and they do it. And so I realized then that there was a gift of influence that I had, and that was essential for being a leader. And so I attribute my military basic training, being a platoon leader, as my first real experience was being a leader. And now you got to think about it. I'm the youngest of 12 kids. So everybody told me what to do all the time, right? So I was never able to be that person to say, well, can I get you to follow me to do this? Can I encourage you to do this? And so it was my training ground, truly, for how to be a good leader or an effective leader, nonetheless.
That's fantastic. And you've really excelled in your career, right? In the civilian world. You are a leader within your industry, you're a leader within your organization, and with the initiatives that you partner with and that you hold dear. So can you tell us and give us a little bit of background about your civilian career? What do you do now with art? How does that apply? Like, what are you doing in this space?
Yeah.
What are some of the initiatives you've got going on? That's a lot of questions, right?
I absolutely love the role that I'm in right now. I love technology. I love seeing things transform, right? So I am not a technologist by trade. Like, I'm not going in a dark room and I'm coding. But what I am able to do is transform spaces, right? As it relates to, I've always been a business consumer of technology. So I know what it feels like to be on that side. So I've been successful as a technology leader because I understand technology greatly, how it's supposed to work, how to transform systems. And I'm a people leader. So that has served me very, very well. And I always say, as a leader, you don't have to be the smartest person to know everything, but you got to know how to hire smart people. And so I've been blessed in that. I really have built some great teams. In my current role, the company that I serve for as CIO is part of a global conglomerate. And so now I'm able to work globally to help those that are at a distance to the labor market find employment. And so I'm helping build strategy with all 10 of our operating companies around the world. We're heavy in Europe, Japan, Australia, Hong Kong, the US, and so France. So we have these companies all over the world that I'm able to travel to and to work with groups of people that really have a heart to help make this world better, to help change lives. And so we are upskilling people. We are finding this niche group, right? Many of which I said earlier are veterans and impacted communities. So if you're a senior over 55, right, and you're having a barrier to employment, but you need to go back to work, we have programs to help. If you're a young adult, maybe you fell on some hard times or you finished college, but you can't really find a job, you've been unemployed for a while, we help young adults. We help justice-involved people, any refugees, and so even disabled folks, right? So it's a really strong program that I'm so proud to lead. I think about sometimes as leaders, we get to do very hard work. We have to make very hard decisions. And then there's those jobs where it is the heart work. And so at this point in my life, I am just grateful to be able to lead a charge such as this. I get to learn various cultures and people and the challenges that people face, and then to just see how we can impact lives by giving them skills and helping them, with job interviews, career choices, professional development. It really gives me the juice. And I wouldn't be able to do this. I go back to my military days, and I say this all the time. I have worked with all kinds of people. So to be able to continue to do that, one of my prayers has always been a prayer of Jabez, that the Lord will enlarge my territory, right? And so I feel like in this role, my territory has been enlarged. And so I can make a greater impact all over the world.
That's fantastic. So all right, let's talk. So you shared a story with me during your panel interview, right? And it was really moving, right? Because it was stepping out of your comfort zone and just going for it. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, right? There's programs out there, there's opportunity, but it's really where you're at within yourself and how you're able to overcome those things, to step out of your comfort zone and just go for it. So can you share with the audience a little bit about your journey and how you got into the position that you're in today?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as a CIO, one of our challenges that we had to solve for was diversity in the IT space. And for us, where we were, that was a challenge. And so my CEO and myself created a program that was a global initiative that every one of our companies all over the world had to solve a problem. And there were 3 issues: new ways of doing business, closing the economic divide, and just inclusivity, right? So we did this program called, it was connecting interns with jobs in IT. So we went to various colleges trying to, one, introduce students to IT that wouldn't think that it was possible to even be in that field. And the other was to hire that good talent in IT for our organization. And so we won the challenge. And part of that was implementing it in our own organization, where our global leaders decided that every one of our companies needed to do an initiative like this, right? And so that goes back to what I told you earlier about helping all of these different groups of people. So depending on the country and kind of what their challenges are, we've initiated these programs to help really lean into untapped talent, right? It's a business model for us, and it's also a demonstration of our corporate social responsibility. So again, I get to work with people all over the world, go into these places that most recruiters aren't really going into, and finding that talent, right? And saying, oh my goodness, like, there's no reason you shouldn't be employed. You're a bright young lady. And so helping them with confidence, building up their resume, helping them with interviews, right? If there's a technical training that they need. And so I am overseeing these programs day in and day out, and to just see the transformation, to see that you have truly helped somebody get placement. We have recently worked with a group of refugees who were in a country that they were not native to. And there was a cultural barrier. There was a language barrier. There were skill shortages. And so we went through a 4-week program with different phases to really help build them up to where they are comfortable working with an amazing resume. And we've seen, one of them already has been hired on a job, and they're getting interviews. And so they feel, you think about when we first met them and where they are now, you could truly see the impact that's being made. And so it was hard for me. It was hard for me to walk away from what was, I knew how to do, into spaces where I was going to have to learn cultures. I sat through a Dutch class to learn Dutch a few months ago. And oh my gosh, I'm like, Lord have mercy, it was so difficult. But sometimes when you really want to change lives and you really want to make a difference in the world, you step outside of your comfort zone. And for me, that is happening right now. I am stepping outside of my comfort zone. It is the most amazing and heartfelt work. I miss technology, absolutely, but I'm still able to even be in that space. And so I love what I'm doing. I'm fortunate to have been selected, right? They could have selected any executive from the C-suite to do this role. And so I feel honored, and just, it gives me great pleasure to serve in this capacity.
Absolutely. It's got to be extremely rewarding, getting to see the change and the journey of all of those individuals that you get to work with. What words of advice do you have for somebody who maybe doesn't feel that they have the leadership, or they're not confident enough to say, I'm a leader too? What words of advice do you have for them to help build that confidence, or to help recognize the leadership within them?
Yeah. I have this framework that's called G.R.E.A.T that I recently trademarked, right? And this kind of came up in our interview. This great concept, every letter stands for a word, right? And the G is for grit. You've got to be gritty, right? If you really want to be a good leader, you got to persevere when you feel like quitting. So I think you have to be gritty. I think you have to have a high level of responsibility and own what is yours. I have never felt as responsible for a product or a team of people as I have being in the C-suite. And so you are responsible. So the R is responsibility, the E is equity. Make sure that there is space for everybody, right? Don't isolate people, be inclusive as a leader. The A is take action. And for me, that's one of the biggest ones, right? Oftentimes as leaders, we feel like it is our duty to just tell people what to do. But if you are down in the trenches with your team and you are acting when it comes to work, maybe it's a technology project, but you are there, you are in the meetings, you are helping to move the agenda forward. I think as a leader, you will go far. And T, of course, is the transformation. I have had to transform basically who I am, because to my heart, I am a servant leader and I want to serve. And all along, I've been thinking, right, that, oh, to be a leader, you don't do, you tell people what to do. And it is everything but that. I think for people to really be successful as leaders is we have to transform the way we think. We serve our team. And so I think the minute up and coming leaders and even leaders that have been leaders for a long time, the minute they understand that we really are here to serve our team and to help them become better leaders, I think the better off we'll be. So my advice would be a servant leader.
I love that. So in your experience, you've done a ton of corporate, you're an executive leader, you've got a lot of volunteering in the community, you've got a lot of nonprofit work. What helps keep you grounded, right? You've got a lot going on, right? What keeps you motivated to keep going and grounded in what you're doing?
Listen, I'll tell you, having a little human running around and watching you every day certainly makes me want to be a better person, right? And so my son, for me, having a child really late in life, I'd already kind of established my career. He makes me a better person. He makes me want to get up in the morning and really set this world on fire. But if I had to say what really keeps me grounded, Kayla, it would be my faith. I am very strong in my faith, and I think people, whatever it is that they believe in, that they should be committed to it. For me, my faith keeps me whole. It keeps me grounded. When things around me are shaky and doesn't look solid, I really do lean in to my faith. It motivates me to keep going. It motivates me to treat people right. It encourages me to do the right thing. And I feel like a great human. I go to sleep and I sleep well at night. And I get up in the morning and I feel like I can take on this world again today. And it is almost in total due to the faith that I want to exhibit every day. It makes me keep going. And I love to see lives changed. I really do. I love to see people level up. And so that gives me the juice.
Absolutely, right? Watching that change, transformation, and also being able to believe in yourself and something higher, right? Definitely is a
absolutely. Yeah.
So if you could go back to a younger version of yourself, just getting out of the army, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say it's okay to fail. Fail fast, be able to pivot, be flexible, be gritty, and know that it's okay to fail. I think we live in a world where, we have a lot of platforms where everybody wants to be putting their best face forward. And I think it's okay to fail. And I would say that to any young person, whether they're coming out of college, the military, or just graduating high school. Know how to pivot, because you will have times when things don't go the way you anticipated, right? So know how to fail fast, be able to pivot, and stay gritty.
That's great advice. Failing is the biggest learning lesson, right?
Yeah.
It's a great way to move forward. So looking at, a lot that you've got going on, you're trademarking a term, you've got some things in the works. So what's next in your story, Melissa?
Well, I got a few things on the radar. I am very ambitious, and I am looking forward to retirement in about 5 years. I will say that. And even in my retirement, I'm sure that I will do some good work in the nonprofit space. I want to help people, Kayla. I really do. I have seen people, and I talk about this in my book, I have seen people go from the bottom and rise just because they have made a decision that I won't quit. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what does it really look like to walk in greatness, right? And so I want to do this good work of encouraging young people, professionals, teams, how to really tap into your greatness. Because for me, things could have gone a bit different for my life when I didn't finish college the first time around. And I think once you make up in your mind that failure really is not an option for me, you go hard. You have a chip on your shoulder, right? And so I want to see people make those changes when it looks hard, when it looks like there may not be a way out. I want to be able to help encourage them and give them tools, right, and a framework to be able to overcome. And I can see myself doing that probably for the rest of my life.
Love that. So you've had an amazing journey, right? Like you said, right? You came out of college, didn't quite work out. Your dad put you up for a challenge, challenge accepted, and you continued on your journey. And now where you're at today, you're an executive leader, lead global strategy across multi-million, billion-dollar corporations. Like, so you are doing a lot, even on top of the nonprofit work that you've got supporting the community. So out of everything that you've done, you are the feature story, right? So what takeaways do you want our audience to know about you? And how can they learn from that?
Yeah. I think the takeaway is people sometimes need to shift. I think every failure does not mean the end. Detours are sometimes strategic moves that you absolutely need to embrace to become a better version of yourself. For me, the military was that detour. And so I want people to walk away from this thinking, I can really do whatever I want to do if I put my mind to it. If I continue to operate in this great spirit, then I can do whatever it is I set out to do. Will there be challenges? Absolutely. Do you quit when there are challenges? Absolutely not. And so I'd say keep going. Don't stop. And that's one of the things that my dad would say to us all the time. I don't care how bad it gets. Don't stop moving. Don't stop working, right? And that's why I love this action when it comes to the GR.E.A.T framework, because we need to keep moving. We need to keep going. We need to not stop. And so I would say when things get tough, the tough gets going, you keep going, right? And certainly that was a hard lesson for me. However, the fact that I said yes to the military when I didn't want to, when I really wanted to be in college because I was living my best life in my mind, right? I had to pivot. And so all failures are not bad. Sometimes we fail fast, we learn from them, and we move forward. And so that has been the story of my life. It has been the story of my life. Most of the jobs that I've had, Kayla, I've not necessarily had to apply for them. People have recruited me to them. And I think it is an example of me really wanting to do a good job, wanting to represent whatever organization I'm a part of, and just not stopping, right? And so I'd love for people to take that away. Like, you walk in greatness all the time. People will see you. People will notice you. People will want to be in your space just because they know that you operate with a sense of courage, with a sense of, I don't even want to go down this road, but when I think about leaders who are ethical, you want your name all over that. And so be ethical in your dealings. And I think people will notice you. I think good things will come your way if you keep going. Don't let failure be an option, and have the courage to do the right thing. Because it takes courage sometimes in the midst of all the bad things that people are doing. It takes courage to kind of be that one to say, no, I'm not going for this. I have standards, and I'm going to walk this journey in an ethical way. So
so true. Stay ethical in what you do. Melissa, you are amazing. You have a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing your time with us today to learn more about you. And for everyone out there, make sure that you grab hold of GI Jobs, read more about Melissa's story, and stay tuned because we've got more to come. Thank you again, Melissa.
thank you so much for having me.